I want us to start off with, I'm gonna ask you, what is your connection with the moon?
Okay, so my connection with the moon, ah, it's interesting. I mean, in a way, I've always been a person that just looked up at stars. I just love how that looks, and it's just this resonance to me within my heart. The moon, it just looks really pretty. Like a lot of times, like you see in movies that they have like the full moon, and then they think of like romance and stuff, right? But to me, like I really love how the crescent moon looks. Like I think
Mhm.
it looks so pretty to me.
Mhm.
And how I started getting into this moon was more about I think it was more about me learning about my feminine energy um and wanting to have more rituals. Me learning about just spiritual things, um like digging in the roots of like either my even my like lineage, but I'm trying to think because I really haven't even like thought about it. It just always was naturally gravitated to me.
Same.
And like when I think about this with the moon, it's like the cycles too. Like me really wanting this like rhythm. Cause like with entrepreneurship, the hardest thing for me, and I'll even admit it's still a little bit hard, but it's a lot easier now. Like having my own schedule. Like I didn't realize because I was so used to like at work, just like, okay, I have to be at this time, blah, blah. But like when it came for me, it was just like, what? And I that's like the main thing I yearned for is like having my own schedule. So like yeah, like even like just down to me personally, like eating habits and everything, like just really wanting to have that rhythm, that ritual and that cycle of
Mhm.
um that I can get into flow with.
Yeah. It's so interesting you talk about the crescent moon because one of my first tattoos was of a crescent moon. And
Yeah.
yeah, my first one, I think back, I'm like, what was I thinking? But I still feel very connected to the moon and the stars. It is always,
Mm-hmm.
I was 18, maybe 19, probably 18 when I got that tattoo. And it was just something special. And I don't think I truly understood it until now trying to present the series that we've got going on because it was always like, yeah, I love the moon. I don't get to look at it enough because I'm always driving or doing something, and where I live, not very present. But
Yeah.
I love it. Just it's powerful. It's I think the word that does come up. I'm not trying to plug in moon magic, but I know obviously we're talking about it, but it is magical, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just I feel very connected to it, and I always have, and that's why it's important to me. It means something to me, just because it is such a big entity, and it does, especially as a woman, right? You were talking about femininity, but just as a woman, our
Yeah,
cycles kind of being in line with that most of the time, as long as,
exactly.
and it's just, yeah, paying more attention to it is key, though, which is why I like when you talk about rituals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember talking to someone and I kept saying like I want a routine. I want a routine. And she told me, she's like, "Well, what's your definition of routine? And like how do you feel about that word? Because it might be like too disciplinary or whatnot for you. And maybe that's why you're not getting into the rhythm of routine." And she's like, "What about ritual?" And I was like, hmm. And that was like the moment when I thought of like rituals don't have to be like so ceremonial. Like they can literally be something like just fixing tea in the morning, coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but like, like something like that. That's a ritual.
Yes. I think about that. For me, there have been many rituals, or you could say routine ritual, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Me, it has been over the past year, whereas I had a nighttime routine ritual that went on. I would get my chamomile tea, I would journal, read a little bit, listen to my spa music, and just unwind in that way. No phone, try not to do any phone. And then during the morning this year, I started off with this ritual of waking up, doing all my hygiene stuff, but then after that, meditating, reading a little excerpt from this book that I'm reading, and doing my gratitude statement and affirmations, and I just find that that helps me to get my day started and end it, looking at both of those.
Yes, I like that.
What have you been able to add into your as your ritual? What has been the things you've been adding?
Um, it's interesting because right now it's like where I'm at energetically is like shifting for me again. And this is kind of like it kind of reminds me of like the turbulence before the landing of like a plane.
Hmm.
Um, but it's kind of been off and on, but like I like doing a little bit of stretching. I'm not like a big yoga person, but I'll say it's yoga because I do know some poses that are yoga, right? But it's more of me freestyling it.
Yeah.
Um, and I always really I've been adding tarot back into my rituals. Because like in the morning, I'll do meditations, but I really like to keep it short and simple. So I'll just do a couple of breathing. Cause like for me, like I like change a lot. And that's why a lot of times my routine is like, and because my environment hasn't changed that much, it's kind of like, well, let's do this, let's do that. So I'll pick from like my three regular go-tos, which would be definitely like just taking a few mindful breaths in the morning when I wake up. Um, Sit down with some tea. I love the tea in the winter time for me. And I just sit down. I have a little altar. I sit down and I pull a card, just like literally like, what do I need to know right now? And
Yeah.
just tap into my spirit and just feel into like, okay, that's cool. And then go about my day. I
Yeah.
want to do more writing though. It's been like pulling teeth for me. And I'll do it so sporadically, but I'm trying to pull that into my ritual.
Absolutely. And I think there's nothing wrong with having things to pull from as long as we're intentional